The Crit Show contains elements of horror, fantasy violence, and adult language. Content warnings can be found in the episode description. One of you want to take a crack at it this time?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Crit Show?
That's the easy part.
So quiet.
The Crit Show.
We need some confidence here. Just hit it. Just hit it.
Crit
like
Show.
Here. Well, that and like the full thing. Like, we are the Crit Show. Welcome to the Clockwinders. You know, just do it full out.
Okay.
Our bagel discovery podcast.
Oh, yes. Let's do that instead.
I mean, okay, but I'm not running it.
Yeah, so I guess the answer is no. None of us wants to take a crack at this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Crit Show, where we are playing the Clockwinders. Last time, our party made their voyage back to Sun's Edge. They stopped off to chat with Wazine. They couldn't reach terms that they were all happy with, and so Wazine tried to preserve his own ego, but also dip out on the arrangement, and fucked off into the swamps. They made it back to the Dawn Palace, chatted with Chief Forbin and Hector, filled them in on what they had learned out there, and they all kind of established a plan of action moving forward. Some planning for having other people maintain the cores, for changes to the process, and for trying to restore good faith in the Clockwinder institution. And that is where we had left off, was with the three of them splitting off to handle their individual parts of this plan. So I think we will start off with Maxine. Maxine, you had said that you were going to head to the records room, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, you head back towards that records room. Again, it's not one of the bigger rooms in this place. It is quite dusty and cobwebby. Everything is sort of ramshackle and disorganized in here. There is clearly lots of paper. There's lots of paper in here, but hard to say how any of it is structured or organized, or when the last time was that it was used. Is there anything you're doing in here before Hector joins you?
Yeah, I think I'm preparing. I have my journal, or Rise journal, our journal, opened up on a desk, and a bunch of just pieces of paper around that I'm referencing the journal and writing things down. I think the point that Maxine has taken over in this journal, it goes from like Rise daily accounts written down of like what happened to just full bullet journal, like lines and like charts and graphs. Things are organized in a very like stylized way of everything that she's keeping track of. So from there, it's just all of her information on like the movement cores in the swamps and the ones at Sun's Edge, and like the differences and what needs to happen and what should be implemented going forward to help maintain them. Everything, you know, all the ramblings that Kade was talking about as he was like tinkering and fixing on things. Anything that Einon had said about like the landscape. You
start documenting everything that you have learned thus far in the journal. And after like half an hour or so, the door opens and Hector steps inside. You can see that he kind of like looks around and spots you behind some stacks of papers, and closes the door behind himself and heads over in your direction.
Oh, hi. I already got started. I hope that's okay.
Oh, that's fine. By all means. I think the faster we can get things done, the better. You don't need to wait for me. This isn't really my specialty anyway.
Well, Bright, I just want to make sure that all of the information that we were able to get is collected for you, and that you'll be able to go through it and figure out, you know, the best way to implement paths going forward for, you know, all of the future Clockwinders that we'll hopefully be adding to our ranks.
He points at your journal and says, "Do you mind? Can I see what you got so far?"
Oh, of course. I'll hand it over.
He picks it up and starts flipping through the pages and nodding as he reads. So far, so good. This is solid work. Forbin was right. You are a consummate clockwinder. And he kind of starts like flipping backwards. And you can see that he moves to before you started filling in the journal. He moves back into Rye's chunk of writing. And his pace of like reading this information, the rate at which his eyes are tracing the pages, kind of slows. He seems like he's just like taking this in rather than trying to like get anything out of it. It's a real shame. I'm glad you found this.
Yeah, me too. We might not have had any idea of what had happened if he hadn't recorded it, so it's good to know, even though it is very tragic.
Well, with your ideas about how we start to shape up from here, I hope we can ensure that nothing like this happens again.
You know, he says in there that when he was waiting to be rescued, he tried to tap into ether use to save himself as kind of a last resort.
Did he now? And he kind of like flips through some pages trying to find that passage.
Do you think being a clockwinder changes something in people? Makes them more likely or predisposed, I guess, to giving in to ether use? I mean, we're kind of extra exposed to it, going to the cores.
He's still looking at the journal and kind of flipping through it as he answers you. Well, we do have an above average exposure to ether, that's true. And ether exposure, in and of itself, is a dangerous thing, to say nothing of ether utilization.
Grandma Daphne always told me that giving in to ether use was one of the most dangerous things you could do. You knew her, didn't you, Hector?
He nods and like grunts in the affirmative.
Did you also know Cecilia, then? Cecilia Monroe?
You see that his eyes stop tracing across the pages of the journal, and he looks up at you, and he kind of considers you for a moment, and he smiles warmly at you, and he gently closes the journal and sets it back down on the table in front of you. And he lowers himself into a chair adjacent to yours. Yes, I did. I knew them well in another life. What's on your mind, Maxine?
My grandmother always talked about how close they were. Best friends, sisters even. She was always very clear in telling me about how Cecilia started using ether and how she gave in to the corruption. She just wanted more and abandoned everything that they knew about being clockwinders, just for the power. She said she tried to get my grandma to go with her, and Grandma Daphne refused, and then she never saw her again. It's scary to think about how something like that can change somebody so completely. Take something that they thought that they knew for sure was important and good and turn it irrelevant. I guess I'm afraid. I've always known how important it is to be a clockwinder, how serious of a role and necessary it is. But what if the ether changes my mind?
He smiles at you again. It's natural to be afraid. Hell, it's wise. Ether is dangerous, and if you weren't worried while you were dealing with it, well, you'd be kind of a dummy.
To be honest, I'm also concerned that if being a clockwinder puts you at a higher risk of falling to that corruption, is it right to try and bring more people into this organization?
He raises his eyebrows and kind of tilts his head as he sits back a bit further in his chair. That's a great question. We've talked a lot about how important our job is, that it's a duty, it's a responsibility. I believe that. You do too, right?
Well, of course.
And we're here because we chose to be, because we believe that to be true, and we wanted to be the people to see it through. As long as somebody is informed and they believe in the cause, I don't think it's inherently wrong to bring new people into this role. That gets a little bit murkier when we're thinking about the people who have essentially served their jail time among our ranks. Though in that case, it was meant to be a punishment. So making them do it when they didn't believe in it was kind of the point. Whether that's right or wrong, tough for me to say. I'm just a groundskeeper.
What do you think happened to Cecilia?
He sighs and shakes his head. I don't know. I wish I did. For your sake, for your grandmother's sake, for the organization's sake. It sounds like what your grandmother told you was basically true. She might have smoothed out some of the rough edges for the sake of teaching a child. Your grandmother and Cecilia were usually deployed together. They trained together. They were as close as you say, like sisters. Nearly every mission, every repair, every tour to one of the cores, they were in it together. And it is true that Cecilia started espousing pro-ether rhetoric. She started to entertain the idea of not just mitigating it, but utilizing it, controlling it. I don't know how well kept a secret she thought her ideology was, but rumors started to spread that that was how she saw things. And from my understanding, it is true that most of the pressure was put upon your grandmother as the person closest to her. Your grandmother didn't agree. They reached an impasse and clearly a point where Cecilia could not continue to operate as a clockwinder, and she vanished. But back to your question, and he kind of leans forward, leaning on the table closer to you, about whether this job inherently puts somebody at greater risk. Your grandmother and Cecilia were together every step of the way. One of them turned, one of them didn't. So yeah, I'm sure that being close to the ether is more dangerous than not, but as far as what you do with it, I think that comes down to the content of one's character, the power of one's will. I don't believe that if you were sat next to a leaking movement core every moment for the next 40 years, that it would inherently damn you. If you're strong enough, you'll never slip. Your grandma was strong enough. I think you are too.
All right. I suppose that does make sense. I'll try to keep that in mind. Thank you, Hector.
Anytime.
Oh, I do have another question. Did you know ghosts were real?
He chuckles. And we jump to Einon. Einon, you're going to visit an old friend, eh?
Yes, I think so.
Who is it?
It is the other hunter that got injured when I went out and had all that interaction that led me here inevitably. Everett.
Okay. Where is Everett?
I think that they are at like a medical facility in Sun's Edge. I don't think like a hospital. I think this was long enough ago that they don't need, that kind of direct attention, but somewhere for like rehabilitation and, someone that can see to his needs as he slowly recovers.
Okay. Yeah, you head to the inpatient facility where you had left Everett to recuperate. You head inside and into the lobby. There are rows of chairs sitting out here with some people with various ailments sitting in them. Some people that seem like other visitors, maybe. And a figure sitting behind a desk at the far side of the room who looks up as you enter. Can I help you?
Yes, I'm here to find an old friend. Everett?
Last name?
Yes, he has one. He has a last name, and it's,
Everett Ads.
This person behind the desk kind of smirks as you give the name and gestures down. There are two hallways behind them, one to their left, one to the right. They gesture to the one over their right shoulder. 6th door down on the left.
Outstanding, thank you. How much trouble is he giving you all?
They kind of, again, they chuckle. They're like, "Eee."
I apologize about that. Good luck. And I go on.
You hear them call after, "Good luck to you." So you start to head down that hallway, counting the doors as you go. And you start to hear a little bit of ruckus, a little bit of like panicked voice. As you get closer, you feel like it is coming from that 6th door on the left. It is coming from that room. And as you turn the corner, you see a couple of personnel for this facility in this room standing over an empty bed and looking at an open window with the bedcloth leading out of it. Just like hands on their head. Like, I can't believe he's done it again.
Can't you though, darlings?
They turn to face you and like try to rapidly collect themselves. One of them says, "Sorry, who are you?"
Oh, apologies. Einon Kerning. Hello, a pleasure.
What can we do for you, Mr. Kerning?
I'm looking, I think, for the same gentleman you are.
Oh, you're a friend of Everett's.
Oh, yes.
Fabulous. Do you think you maybe could find him?
It's possible. Unfortunately, he taught me most of what I know about hunting.
Well, he has a knack for trying to escape the facility, no matter how many times we tell him that his wounds are not fully healed and he is not yet in a condition to be doing things like this.
Don't take it personally. I think he takes this as a bit of his own physical therapy.
Well, it's increasing our need for mental therapy. So maybe you could find him and talk some sense into him so that he stops putting us through this.
The former, certainly. The latter, absolutely not.
Whatever. Just bring him back when you find him, please.
I'll do my best. And I'm just going to go over to the window and grab onto the sheets and start shimmying down the side.
Okay. Yeah, you shimmy out this window down the bed sheet, which ends like it's not long enough to get to the ground. It ends like 8 feet off of the ground still. It gets down 1 story, and then you are able to drop and land
in a pool of blood
on his body. They hadn't gotten as far as looking down yet. No, you land in a hedge that runs the length of the building down here.
All right. I'm going to look around, see if I can try to track this guy down.
Why don't you roll to overcome with investigate? And I think you're just trying to beat a +1 here.
Okay. Thank God I have a 2 in investigate, which brings my roll to a 2.
Okay, yeah, you climb out of this bush and start searching around for something to track, and you do find footprints. Very faint in the grass here. You can tell that they're uneven, like one leg is injured, which speaks to you of the injuries he sustained that brought him here. So yeah, you're pretty confident that these are Everett's tracks, and you are able to start following them. They lead away from this facility, which is kind of not on the outskirts of town, but in like a garden district. That's not exactly it, but like a greener, more spacious part of the city.
Yeah.
They start to kind of lead away from this and away from the facility grounds and into like the meat of the city, like into the actual urban area of tightly packed buildings. Eventually, you hit a point where the line of the grass ends and the cobblestones begin, and you lose these tracks inevitably. They seem to end leading down an alley that leads between a couple of several-story tall buildings. They appear to be residences. They look like they're like apartment buildings on either side.
Do I recognize this area? Is this somewhere where he had kept an apartment before, or is this just where he happens to be making his way?
You don't recall this being anywhere that like he has resided.
Okay. I'm gonna keep going, see if I can find any sign of him.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think this one necessitates a roll. Like as you're kind of scouting the alley, moving down, one of the windows into one of the ground floor units is open. You can see that like the curtains are kind of blowing. They're being pulled out the window by the wind a little bit. And you can see that there is some damage to the frame from the outside, as if this was like jimmied where it shouldn't have been.
What in the hell is he doing? I'm going to go up to the window and look in.
You are looking into a bedroom of somebody's apartment. You can see that everything looks like it's in pretty decent condition, except that the closet door is open and it looks like a lot of the clothes have been rifled through. And there is just a hallway leading out of this building down towards like the opposite side from where you are peeking in towards what appears to be a front door.
I think I'll go out and around
Fair.
Instead of through this stranger's home.
He's just going through with his weapon through in the hallway. They're eating breakfast, and he's like, "Don't mind me. I'm just tracking a human."
They're like, "Oh, yes, we've seen one of those.
He was wearing my good coat.
Please return it."
He looked amazing.
All right, yeah, you go the rest of the way down the alley around the building and to the front door of this unit. Do go ahead and give me another overcome roll here. I think same stat, same difficulty to see if you can pick his trail back up.
Okay. Exact same roll, 2.
Okay. You look around and you spot just a little bit of gauze that is stuck on the corner of the brickwork of this building. And heading that direction, looking around, you are able to see another spot a little bit further down and start following this trail where it at first looks like maybe he was snagging his bandages on things, but pretty quickly comes to look like maybe he was removing them, like abandoning them as he walked. You start to see longer stretches of this gauze stuck to shit and then just like in trash cans, wrapped around doorknobs, like just all along the way. And where the gauze trail ends is a square, like a large open air, well-traveled part of the city. It is surrounded on all sides by like shops, cafes. There's a big fountain in the middle. There are plenty of people out and about here right now. What do you want to do?
I think I just yell, "Everett!"
Okay. You just yell his name over the din of the city here. A bunch of people kind of stop and give you strange looks, wondering why you're screaming. But from the other side of the square somewhere, you faintly hear a voice go, "Who's asking?"
Your favorite person on this planet.
"You're not Ben Stiller."
So specific.
If you're who I think you are, then you should be able to find me.
You're getting sloppy, old man.
Well, I was grievously wounded. You might know something about that.
You wound me. And I'm just making my way through the crowd towards the voice.
Okay. Yeah, you are able to follow the voice as you continue to heckle him into responding. And you spot a figure sitting on a bench facing the fountain. He is wearing a strange assortment of clothes, what one might call a mismatched outfit, and licking an ice cream cone, and just kind of gazing into the fountain. And he looks up at you as you get closer, and it is Everett. And he smiles up at you, and he pats the empty spot on the bench next to him.
I sit down. You know, I'm fairly certain if you just ask the attendants, they'll bring you one of these.
It's not about the ice cream, it's about the adventure.
I know.
It's good to see you, my friend. What are you doing back in town?
Apparently on a hunting trip.
He laughs. Yes, I suppose more specifically, what are you looking for little old me for?
Well, I know you'd spent some time out in the swamps. I'm doing a bit of writing and hope to supplement some information.
I'd be happy to be a consultant, sure.
I'd love that. How are you feeling? If I may be so bold, you don't look like you're at 100%.
No, I'm not. And I know it, and I know that doing things like this is setting me back, but my body may regret it, but my mind needs it.
Healing the mind is, in my opinion, more important.
Plus, I suspect that one of those attendants at the facility has been skimming some of my ice cream off the top, so I like to give them a hard time in particular.
It makes sense. For the right price, I'll hunt them down. You just let me know.
I don't imagine it'll be difficult. They walk with a gait like an elephant.
That was one of the first things you taught me.
How to hunt elephants.
How to hunt elephants.
How to walk like an elephant.
Intimidate your targets.
Come, let's go on safari. He takes a bite out of his ice cream because he's a fucking monster.
Whoa, this is targeted. That is how I eat my ice cream. Thank you.
My teeth don't feel the cold. I'm beyond that. He says, well, when and where? Well, actually, I suppose you may have to come to me. They still don't want me leaving yet.
Yes, well, I've already had to do that in spades, haven't I?
That's true. I can make it easier next time. Perhaps I could be in my room.
That would genuinely be helpful, yes.
Very good.
It's strange out there. Between you and me, things are bad. The world, it's starting to turn.
Well, I've heard that rumor floating around for many, many years.
It's not a rumor. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen the proof of it. And some friends and I were forced to make an expedition, one longer and likely more dangerous than either of us have ever done. I think for the first time in my life, I'm as nervous as I am excited.
That's good. Nerves. It's your survival instinct butting up against your curiosity. Life would be boring without nerves.
That's very true. I think I'm just nervous because I wish you were out there with me.
I wish I was too, old friend.
You would be if I hadn't missed that shot.
Now, don't blame yourself.
Don't tell me what to do.
He laughs again. I'm sorry. I wouldn't dream of it. Can I get you an ice cream?
Yes, you can. I had to put quite a bit of effort into finding you. I could really use a treat.
And I could use a little bit more time out here in the sun.
Yes, I'll say it took quite a bit longer to find you.
He gets up. He's clearly struggling still, but he makes his way over into the ice cream shop. And you have a moment just to sit on the bench and take in the splashing of the fountain and the chatter of the people all around before he returns and hands you a cone with, what's your flavor?
Rocky Road.
See, I don't know Einon well enough to say that, but Everett did. So he hands you a cone of Rocky Road, and you two are able to just sit and enjoy the warmth and finish your ice cream before he stands back up again, still struggling. All right, take me back to jail.
All right, once we get up to the gate, I'm going to have to throw you over my shoulder. It'll help endear me to the attendants a bit.
That's fine. It'll be better on my legs. Just mind the ribs.
Yes, no problem.
I love him. I thought for sure you were going to say he hands you a cone of Rocky Road with a bite taken out of the side.
That's canon now for sure.
You escort Everett back to the facility, tossing him over your shoulder as you walk in the front, and the person behind the desk smiles unsurprised and just gestures you back down the hallway.
I'm going to have to leave an address with you to maybe have a runner take some clothes to a home.
The person behind the desk shakes their head. Okay, yeah, fine.
I give a little cheers with my mostly eaten cone and him over my other shoulder and walk him back.
You walk him back down and get him settled back into his room and sit down in the chair next to his bed. He gets propped up, comfortable. The attendants come back in to kind of get him situated, and he's giving very purposeful looks between you and one of them. And as they leave, you can tell that they do walk with a very heavy step. You know that's the one who's skimming his ice cream that he's mad about. But you pull out your journal, and you two are able to get to work on your guide. And that will bring us to Kade. So, Kade, you were heading down to the train.
Yes.
What are you messing with? What are you tinkering with on the train here?
Yeah, so I'm actually not tinkering with it at all. I'm going to codify a bit what this looks like.
Okay.
Because we talked before, and we kind of talked about like a boxcar or almost like a trolley. Do we think that there is, like, we know that there is a way in from the side?
Yeah.
Do the front and the back look the same?
In my head, they do.
Okay. And so I'm kind of picturing almost like a street trolley now. And what Kade is doing, he's got a half a dozen buckets of paint. And on the
I feel like
side,
this is going a much more Looney Tunes direction than I expected.
on the side that would be the front when we are headed back to the Dawn Palace, he's like doing all of the accents on that side in like reds and orange and yellows, and it fades away into neutral. And on the other side, it's like purples and blues and silvers that fade into a neutral, so that it's got sunward side and the dark facing side, depending on which way it's moving. He's been thinking about this whole thing, like, you need to like talk to people, and now it's a presentable thing. So like when it pulls up, it looks like something other than just, you know, a dark metal box on wheels.
You wrapped our tour bus.
Yes. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay, I love that. I think that shortly after you get to work on that is when Hector comes down to join you, and he sees what you're doing, kind of chuckles, and picks up a paintbrush himself to assist you.
You see, this way now it doesn't feel like I'm driving it backwards. It's just driving back towards Sun's Edge or out towards the world.
Yeah, no, I get it. And it doesn't bother you at all that in reality there's no difference. Like, I'm just mechanically speaking, nothing has changed. But that's fine.
I mean, if you don't think that aesthetic is part of how something works, I understand why the Clockwinders have gone south.
You got me there, pal. Ooh, you burned me good. I'm too old for this shit. Yeah, so what are you and Hector discussing?
Yeah, so I think I am talking with him kind of in more detail about Arctis, how he had some issues internally, how he recognized the symbols of the Clockwinders, and then how, at least from what we found so far, there has been a mechanism connected to the mechanism. So you do a thing, and something in the environment changes. Not necessarily to expect that all the time, but these are sources of power. And so, like, when we got there, there's this switch you have to step on and put pressure on, and it opens up, and then you went inside and fixed the piece, and then it started pumping the kind of excess water out and clearing up the track the same way here that, you know, we fixed the one and it opened up and powered this. So just that theory of like, yeah, this might be a big power grid and all the pieces are shut off. And so things might start to change as we power them back on.
Yeah, as you two are chatting, he sets down the paintbrush and pulls out a notebook and, you know, starts like writing some of this down. And he mentions like, I mean, back in the day, I had a decent familiarity with several of the cores, but I never saw them in as much disrepair as this. So yeah, it's hard to say what all they were doing that is not being done anymore just because of their condition, or even how they correlate. Last time I was out there working on these, they were at least all more or less operational. So I'll keep all this in mind and bring me back any more data you get as you repair more. Maybe we can come to some more solid conclusions on how they interlock.
I don't suppose you noticed anything changed around here a couple days ago. Did you, like, I don't know, the windmill sped up? Or I'm trying to think if now that those two lines of energy are connected, I wonder if anything here changed, or if they are like really distinct, separate pieces of a larger whole.
He like kind of shakes his head, pensively. Nothing that I've noticed. I mean, as Chief Forbin said, it should have slowed the rotation a bit. We had some projections on what condition the outermost glyph stones would be in by now. Obviously, the difference is going to be infinitesimal, but we can do some further measurements and see if we can tell that the rotation is slowed at all. Otherwise, as far as mechanisms or anything of the sort, I haven't noticed any change. But it is quite possible that each movement core is responsible for something more acute locally and the condition of the globe as a whole.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I'll go compile some of these notes and I'll check our instruments, see if I can't determine anything about the rotation so far. You need any more help?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, I'll leave you to it.
All right, thanks, Hector.
He gets up and pats you on the back and heads back up the stairs. And a short while later, you hear footsteps on the spiral staircase again, somebody heading down. And you see Chief Forbin step out onto the platform into the light.
Oh, hey, what do you think?
Huh? Oh, the paint job?
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks good. Looks painted.
Yeah.
Okay, so why, though?
It just felt weird that, like, it was just a big metal box, kind of, and so sometimes it felt like I was driving it backwards, but now I'm thinking more of it like driving it back towards Sun's Edge.
She nods. She's like, oh, yep, totally. I understand 100%. Good call. Good idea.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I got this note, and she holds up your little scrap of paper.
Yeah.
Well, I've collected what we have, and she gestures. She's got like a leather satchel hanging off her shoulder. She taps on the satchel. Why are you asking?
Oh, well, you know how Smee could do the ethereal web stuff?
Yeah.
That was me. I didn't realize it, but Arctis J, the automaton that we met, he could, like, sense it on me that it's me doing it, so I can use Aether. So I'm trying to, like, learn everything I can about it just to see if I can, like, come up with a solution or something to help. Like, there's Fae, there's all these things, and, you know, it courses through them, and they're fine.
She, like, takes a moment to take the measure of you, and she walks over in your direction. Interesting. But you couldn't tell before.
No,
And does it feel any different now?
No.
Well, and again, she kind of, like looks you up and down. She's, like, leaning sideways, like, examining you. She's like, so far, nothing in our interaction has led me to believe that anything's different about you.
But it's only a matter of time. That's why I want to try to figure out, like, as much as I can before that happens.
What do you mean it's only a matter of time?
Like, I've got the Aether in me, and so, you know, like, the core is like it's going to start wearing me down. It's going to corrupt me. It's going to, like, change something in a way that can't be repaired.
She, like, frowns a little bit as she looks at you. I don't think that's exactly how it works.
Oh, that's how a movement core works. I just assumed I'd be kind of the same way.
I can understand why you would think that way. When all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You're a mechanist. You view everything like a machine, but you're not a machine. You're a person.
Oh, so it, like, you think it works different? Like, is it not, like, for sure gonna kill me?
I mean, you're gonna die eventually, and whether that has been accelerated by being able to harness Aether or not is, well, pretty much impossible to say. But plenty of people use Aether and live. You know, they don't just kick it immediately. Again, it's kind of tough to say what exactly the contribution of Aether is to their ultimate demise. But, I mean, clearly the Aether has been inside you, right? How long have you had Smee, and how long has he been doing webs?
Oh, yeah. I guess I was just kind of thinking that, like, now that I knew the timer started, but that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, the timer would have started when, well, I don't know. Were you born this way, or did it happen at some point in your lifetime?
Huh. I kind of think about Aether like your glass of water, and at some point someone puts a drop of ink in it, and now there's no separating it. I didn't even think that you could be, like, born with the ability to use it, or that it couldn't. Huh. Wow, I was kind of thinking, like, oh, I need to get all of my ideas out now, and you got to start training a replacement, because soon I'm gonna, like, turn into some kind of Fae monster. That's a relief.
Well, I'm glad that is a relief. Yeah, I mean, there's much we don't know about Aether, and, you know, the more we try to learn about it, the more intimate we have to get with it, and the more dangerous it is. So it's sort of a trade-off. It's something that we have to weigh
Huh.
And, I'm in charge here. I lead the Clockwinders, but I wasn't around for most of their tenure. A lot is lost. This information may even exist somewhere that just I don't know.
I wanted you to get those books so I could maybe jot down the few things that I knew or I was going to learn during the process, but I might be able to actually, because that's a way I can study it without actually having to deal with it, is by other people's past studies.
She slides that satchel off her shoulder and kind of sets it down on the ground near you. You're welcome to look through. There's not a lot there. Time has just made fools of us and our record keeping, but there may be people out there that you come across that have lived experiences they could share with you, might be able to fill in some gaps, put your mind at ease. Hell, there might even be Fae out there who have answers for you.
Yeah, I was thinking it's interesting how, they are of it and can just use it, and there's no, I guess I was going to say there's no corrupting effect on them, but at least there's no difference to just whatever. That's just how they are, and,
I mean, that's another thing that there's just much to learn. We know very little about the Fae, all things considered. We don't even know where they come from. We know that they are intrinsically linked to the Aether because it seems to bring them here, but we don't know how or why, whether it's willful or not. But I don't think you need to worry about your rate of decay having increased.
Yeah. I'll talk to you later. I got to go tell Max. I said some stuff to her before about what I thought was going on, and I don't want to worry her. I got to go.
Okay.
I'll see you later when we do the public speaking.
Okay. You hustle off for the spiral staircase, leaving Chief Forbin down here alone at the train station, like so many sad movies. And I think that is where we will leave it off this time, with Einon and Everett working on their manuscript, Maxine working on some training documents with a new understanding of living with Aether, and Kade
running through the streets.
also with a new idea of living with Aether, rushing to Maxine. So thank you all for joining us for another episode of The Crit Show, where we're playing the Clockwinders. If you are interested in learning more about the system or the setting, you can find that information in the episode description. If you want more stuff that we have done before, then you should check out our Patreon. That is patreon.com/thecritshow, where we have hundreds of hours of additional audio and video and other miscellaneous contents.
Other DOs.
Other idios. Audio, video. They have different. It's a DEO and a DIO. That's weird.
EIEIO.
and more hot content like that. Also, if you become a patron, you can get your name right at the end of an episode, just like Sam Marcus and Kaz with an exclamation point. Thank you to the two of you. Thank you to everybody for listening, and join us next time for another episode of The Crit Show. Everybody say goodbye. Does anybody speak a different language? Can you all say goodbye in a different language?
Toksha ake wachi ang kingte.
Arrivederci.
Auf Wiedersehen.
The Crit Show is a Crit Show Studios production, edited and produced by Brandon Wentz, with music by Jake Purley. You can find more information about us at thecritshowpodcast.com. To keep up to date with upcoming live shows, contests, and other special events, follow us at The Crit Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For even more weekly content, join us at patreon.com/thecritshow.